Pleasure to be here. Jesse Daystar. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer here at Cotton Incorporated. I'm excited to get to present to you a large body of work that we've been really across the company and industry been working on for about 10 plus years, where we're really trying to take science and drive that to compliance for cotton by growing the awareness of the benefits of cotton and the challenges and environmental issues of the competition being polyester. So I'm really pleased to be able to present this research with you today and to have Marjory Walker of the National Cotton Council come in after me and really speak to how this research has been helpful and what they're doing even above and beyond this as we look to the future. So thanks very much for joining us today. So within this presentation, sort of a little outline of kind of where we're going. We're going to cover briefly the global issues surrounding plastic pollution and microfibers as it relates to the apparel industry, talk a bit about why it matters, and then our role as an organization, particularly given our recent new strategies that we've unveiled, and then talk about our investments in research, our impact of our work, and then how we're working together to support the broader industry effort. So they always say, tell them what you're going to tell them what you told them. So part one of that is the takeaways. So I hope within this presentation, you'll get the idea of these takeaways, but plastic concerns are certainly shaping global markets and increasing the pressure on synthetics, our competition. That's an advantage. Cotton's natural biodegradability and our science behind it positions cotton as a compliant, low risk alternative. Coordinating Coordinated industry action is essential to convert this advantage into measurable demand for cotton, which is what we're going for. And finally, Cotton Incorporated has built a strong momentum in researching and marketing cotton's natural advantage over synthetics, and advancing this work will remain a top priority. So this is what I hope to prove to you over the next few slides to really give you the backing to these overall messages. So jumping right in, if I can get this going. Uh, Plastic waste, mismanaged textiles continue to be a global challenge. Sometimes we don't see it here in the United States because we have fairly robust waste management systems. But when oftentimes we donate our clothes to, say, a Goodwill or something like that, they get exported and actually end up in this case a desert in Chile where you can see it from space, causing environmental issues for the people who live there. But this managed waste is a problem. And this managed waste and microfibers and microplastics is also a problem. When you go into literature, using something like Google Scholar, where you look for scientific papers, you have a plethora, so many different studies that come up, such as plastics in our bottled water, and maybe we eat so much plastic a week, or more recently, a landmark study links microplastics to serious health problems in nature. All these things are starting to come to the surface, and the science is really evolving quickly. I gave a similar cotton coffee earlier, I think it was earlier this year, where we talked about the microplastics and similar. And I pulled the screenshot on the left where 17,000 results since 2024 were for scientific journals were available. And I just updated that, and now we're up to 20,000 just within, 8 or 9 months. So the research is evolving at an extremely rapid pace, and we're becoming more aware of the impacts of the plastics and how they impact our bodies, and sometimes the benefits of cotton. So the science is certainly evolving. But consumers are evolving too, as you'll see over the next few slides. So our team at Cotton Incorporated conducts many surveys to better understand what's going on in their minds, what are they concerned about, and how do we incorporate that into our messaging and marketing. So Melissa Bastos and her team ran this survey and determined that major concerns for consumers are microplastics getting into the products they eat and drink, damaging fish and marine life, polluting the beaches, and impacting our health. Those are all top concerns. And I think that's really important to remember. This is, a real issue for the consumer, and cotton has a solution. And if you look at this through time, we've conducted a series of surveys. We can see in 2017, globally, US and China, the concern or awareness of microplastics was much smaller, 27, 17, 19%. Now it's almost half of the folks who were surveyed are seeing that as, they're aware of that. So between things in the news, the science, and I feel like every other day we find there's plastic somewhere in our bodies that we didn't know about. People are paying attention to this. And we can see that through time on the search trends of microplastic mentions and whatnot. It's going up and down depending upon what article kind of comes out, but the overarching trend is up. And as it relates to textiles too. So we want to push that up. We want to bring it into the news where we can, promote our own research and make sure this is top of mind, not only for the scientists, but for the people who are buying apparel, buying cotton, hopefully. We are also, how it really affects us is it's actually in you right now. You have plastic in you. I have plastic in me. That's unfortunate. I wish we all didn't have that, but that's the world we literally live in. And we recently published a fact sheet, which we'll get to a little bit later, but this summarizes the various aspects and locations for which we find our plastics. And some of those studies even speak to what it means to our body. So whether you like it or not, plastic pollution, microfibers, they're impacting everybody and pretty much everything. They're everywhere. So it's a real challenge for the apparel industry. I think consumers and myself are certainly waking up to it. So pivoting a bit more to how this all fits into the company. So we worked with Deloitte recently and came out of that process with a better defined, clear strategy towards the future, given where we are in the world. So our new mission here is we will strengthen cotton's competitive market position as a voice to the value chain to improve demand for cotton as a high quality, versatile, and compliant fiber, while, very importantly, driving economic viability for U.S. producers. So that's kind of what we're working from now. And within that, we define several key pillars of our strategy. We definitely are going to be focusing more on the midstream value chain, and that's an opportunity for microplastics because what's on the shelf is what people buy, and sustainability directors and the like who make policy around, say, sustainability and maybe microplastics, they can make a big shift in markets there. We also want to conduct targeted consumer awareness and behavior driving campaigns. As you'll see later, microplastics could really fit in there. We want to preserve and grow market share. That's certainly an opportunity as we speak to microplastics and microfibers and cotton's natural advantage as a key way to do that. Another really big one, particularly in my area, is positioning cotton as a compliant ready fiber. And we see in the future more and more regulations and concern around microplastics coming to fruition. So cotton is a natural advantage, a natural solution to that. And the final pillar, innovating on the farm to improve the fiber and profitability of your operations. So these are all things we are going to be working towards over the next few years. And the plastic and microfiber issue fits amongst most of these. So going back a little bit, I'm going to take you through a bit of a journey as to some of the things that we've worked through, some proof points of the importance of our work and how we're getting that work out there. So back around 2018 or 19, plastic, like I showed you earlier in this image, it exists in the world, but clearly it's creating an environmental impact, but the science was not there to actually quantify that impact. So it just wasn't incorporated when brands thought about which fiber is maybe more sustainable or when they create their strategies. The end of life of apparel just didn't show up. So cotton being biodegradable and plastic getting in our bodies didn't incorporate that. So we first started to think about how do we create the metrics to better quantify those impacts. So we worked with a number of different organizations, brands, environmental groups, and consultancies to within the Plastic Leak Project to create a method to count and to quantify the plastic that gets into the environment. That's the first step in order to understand those impacts, is to say, well, let's all agree on measuring how much plastic gets into the environment. So we worked in those years to develop that method, plastic leak project guidance, which is now available. And plastic leakage, just as a term, is plastic that gets into the environment in an unmanaged way. Think about the plastic bottle on the side of the road or a polyester t-shirt, in the ground. That is potentially unmanaged waste and can cause environmental impacts. So we helped create a framework to quantify those. So now that we've done that, we took that to the next step. So here's sort of a timeline I'm going to run you through that step by step kind of speaks to the longer vision and the strategy and how we're really picking this apart and using science to really back the advantages of cotton. So in 2019, we helped develop the method to quantify the plastic getting into the environment. We then worked with the consultant Qantas to actually do this for the apparel industry. We said, okay, now that we have a way to measure the environmental flows, let's look at that for the apparel industry. Let's see how much plastic is getting into the environment from the apparel industry. We kind of thought that it might be a pretty large number, and we had an inkling that it was largely driven from synthetic apparel that indeed is plastic. So we thought we had an advantage there. We engaged world-class researchers at NC State, UC Santa Barbara, EA Earth Action, and the Qantas to help us write this report. It was accepted in Nature Communications. We actually submitted to Science, but ended up getting in Nature Communications. And we published that in 2024 in a top ranking journal. It's seventh among the Google ranking. So very high impact journal. Took a long time to get us there, but now we have a very good starting point to message around the importance of plastic pollution and how cotton is a solution. In that report, we found that 8.3 million metric tons of plastic get into the environment every year as unmanaged waste or plastic leakage from the apparel industry. That's 9 times the Golden Gate Bridge or 820 times the mass of the Eiffel Tower. And overall, that's 14% of all the plastic that gets into the world as unmanaged waste comes from the apparel industry. That's quite a lot. And about 90% of that is coming from the synthetic apparel value chain, and most of that actually comes from the synthetic apparel itself. So the problem largely lies there. And when you look at the stats on this paper, just in the last period of time that has been released, which hasn't been that long, it ranks among the top 2% of all publications that have been out there since then, and 6%, give or take, within Nature Communications, a very high impact journal. So it's getting a lot of attention, a lot of citations, news pickup, and that science has been very valuable to a wide range of audiences, and not to mention our own. Further, when you look at where this has been picked up, our research is not intended to influence policy, but when we do publish stuff into the general scientific body of information, sometimes it's picked up by other scientists or folks in the EU who are trying to better understand the flows of plastic into the environment, which is what happened in this case. They published a paper that wanted to look at how big is the issue of the plastics that get into the environment in the EU. Well, our research around plastic leakage was incredibly helpful to put numbers behind that. And as you may not be aware, but much of the legislation surrounding sustainability in the apparel industry really comes out of Europe. That's where it starts. So having good data there showing the benefits of cotton and the issues of plastic pollution is really key to our long-term viability as an industry. And this paper certainly helped with that. Further, we've shown consistently that cotton biodegrades in various conditions, whether that's in salt water, fresh water, or even wastewater treatment sludge. We've shown that dyes and finishes on average don't really slow the degradation. Sometimes they even speed it up. We've also showed that cotton biodegrades faster than an oak leaf and even faster than toilet paper, which is an important anchoring component because we flush roughly about 50 pounds of toilet tissue down the toilet here in the United States every year. And cotton actually biodegrades faster than that, and they're both cellulose, so important information there. We've also published more recently a literature review of all the literature that exists on cotton and cellulose biodegradability, including things such as wood and paper as well. But the overarching message is, to not my surprise or not many surprise, that cotton does indeed biodegrade. along with other cellulose. And cotton actually biodegrades more readily than a lot of other types of cellulose. And this type of work is where it's all combined into one place. A literature review makes it really easy for other scientists to get a really good handle on this and to see all the studies in one place, and makes it a very useful paper and body of information for other scientists and other information and work that comes after this. Another area where we just had a paper accepted is where at the end of life, those piles of clothing in other countries, well, a lot of times those are actually burned. And think about this, when you burn plants, certainly it makes some smoke, might have some CO2. It does have an impact. But when you burn plastic, other emissions come out. And burning plastic is traditionally seen as much, much worse than burning plants. So right now, none of the sustainability metrics incorporate that component of what happens at the end of life. Is the polyester and cotton being burned, and does cotton have an advantage? Well, we published a paper, it's been accepted, and we're working through that publication process, which takes some time. But we're showing this whole big issue that nobody's really thought about, that we need to incorporate into our overall apparel industry sustainability strategy. And if we don't incorporate the impacts of plastics and polyester at the end of life, the industry might, really not be making decisions with all the information, and they might steer away from cotton without this information. But with this information, they'll see the benefits of cotton and hopefully judge that more fairly and move to increasing demand for cotton. Further, on the same vein of thought, uh, microplastics and plastic pollution are not incorporated into a sustainability tool, which is called life cycle assessment, or here it's LCA for short. But essentially, it's a framework to measure sustainability. And again, plastic pollution, microfibers, they haven't traditionally shown up in that because the science wasn't there. So again, another point where we've invested in the science over the past 3 or 4 years within this project, as you see on the screen, was to develop the way in which we get it into this framework, which all the brands use to look at sustainability. So we helped develop the metrics and better understanding of how plastics exist in the environment and go from big pieces of plastic to small pieces of plastic, and all of that, so that this information can be used in sustainability metrics that are going to be used by brands. So our work is very critical to that, and this method that we're developing with a bunch of other scientists will be likely the one used in a variety of upcoming frameworks in the EU and globally. And when you kind of zoom out over the past years, really starting back as far as 2010, this is not all of our papers, but we've been working on this area of biodegradability and cotton for a very long time. We've invested millions in this between staff time, research directly funded with universities, and even speaking to this, as you'll see in the later half of this presentation, to our audiences. But our track record of work is, significant. It's really enabled a lot of, I think, change in industry so far, and really gotten us to a good, firm understanding of cotton's benefits, and enable us to really turn that into messaging. However, all that being said, there is some debate in some organizations in the industry as to, does cotton biodegrade? Because frankly, you can still find cotton and cellulose fibers in the ocean. There is some debate of how well you can identify, whether it's cotton or something else. But some groups, as seen here, don't actually see cotton as a solution because they don't believe it biodegrades. They don't believe that it biodegrades with dyes and finishes and things like that. So if we are not active in providing that data, if we're not active in being boisterous in communicating that data and the benefits of cotton, brands could have a very different conclusion as to what's more sustainable. Cotton might shed more. Luckily, it's biodegradable and it's plant material, it goes away. So if you're just trying to reduce shedding, as this group would indicate you should, polyester might be the route to doing so. And using more polyester and moving away from cotton, well, that could be your sustainability solution. However, when you think about it, you're not finding cotton in your brain, in your organs. Cotton biodegrades. When you look at it logically and the holistically and the totality of the science, I think cotton really does have an advantage, and we have to continue to drive that message home. continue to develop the research to support that and to nullify their arguments and others just to make sure that we have the right information and it's placed in the right place to make these good decisions as an industry and at the consumer level. So how do we position our information? It's very important that we do that correctly, efficiently, and with high impact. Cotton Today is one of the web properties which we operate here in collaboration with corporate communications. We do a lot of really good content there surrounding, say, the different aspects of microplastics, of course, but also other things beyond that. We publish fact sheets, blog posts, different online resources. And we certainly prominently position microplastics and cotton being the solution to that on that webpage. And that webpage is primarily just focused on sustainability and targeted at the sustainability informed, sometimes journalists or people who want to dig a little bit deeper and solely focus on sustainability. Here's just the one fact sheet that we recently posted just this year, about a month ago, where we really dug into the impacts and where you find plastic pollution and microfibers, and really do a good job, I think, comparing that to cotton, positioning cotton as a solution. These reports and these types of fact sheets are a clear way for people to understand the issue at a high level, but also have all the information to dive deeper should they want to. And with the USDA review, we keep all the citations right there. People can trust it at a very high level and know that this is good information that they can make good decisions with. So this type of fact sheet's been, I think, very helpful for us, and it's important to get that out. We also, as a company, run LinkedIn campaigns pushing out our various studies, particularly around the plastic leakage assessment, as I showed you earlier, with 8.3 million metric tons a year of plastic getting into the environment from the apparel industry. We push that pretty hard on LinkedIn to make sure we're connecting that information with key audiences. We also run different articles and trade publications such as Eco Textile News, where we really promote this to key audiences who are understanding and making decisions around sustainability. We also created a hub on Cotton Today around Plastic Free July, a whole total resource for different journalists and other groups interested in that. We're also educating the consumer with the kind of more generalized publications such as Food and Wine, 11 million visits on this aspect of microplastics in your kitchen. Kind of more generalized publications, as well as really targeting and making sure the youth understand plastic pollution and how cotton is a plant and biodegrades and plastic is not. So we develop curriculum to help teach students around this and make sure that they're up to speed on the science and using good information to better understand the issue and hopefully become good cotton consumers in the future. We recently just did a overall kind of engagement surrounding plastic pollution and microfibers in New York City, where we did a social event and media engagement opportunity at a laundromat in New York City, where it got over a billion total impressions across the campaign and got picked up in various places. So we're really thinking about how do we elevate the issue to a wide audience to keep this top of mind. So when consumers go to buy their next garment, they think, do I want plastic in my body or do I want to buy cotton that can biodegrade and not wind up in my organs? That might be a bit of a stretch, but in reality, keeping the issue top of mind is very important because it can drive some consumer behavior. Another area which we focused on, again, wide variety of ways of getting this information out was podcasts. We worked with this podcast called Mind Body Green, and I was on that podcast. It's a very high impact podcast, about top 0.1%. So getting placed there was a pretty cool honor to be there. But we had over 53,000 downloads within, I think, 4 months, and I think since it's been some years now. I want to get the total number, but it's a lot of people listening to these issues around microplastics, and that was me for about an hour talking with the host there about these issues. So really getting the message out. Pivoting a little bit here with Cotton Works, that's more of a web property and platform that's targeting the supply chain. Here, we really do that, and we've pushed plastic pollution and cotton as a natural solution to that over and over again, as you'll see here. Plastic Free July is something that across the company we have promoted. Cottonworks certainly does that with newsletters, directing the readers of those to different resources. Those are decision makers on sustainability, designers, things like that. To the most recent science, the most recent video describing the science, things like that. The video on the plastic leakage studies really, when we ran them on LinkedIn and other campaigns on different socials, had really high impact. The video we did really put some color to this and really speaks to the issues and got a lot of traction on socials. And as you can see here, almost 850 million, 850,000 impressions, a lot of different video views, bringing that message forth to a key audience. That's the supply chain who make decisions around cotton. We also do many different webinars with Cottonworks is a great platform to share our science. Cotton and Cellulose Biodegradation, a scientific review, that was a very helpful one, had really good engagement. That was more recent. That's again putting the voice and the researchers behind the publications and disseminating that knowledge to the key audience. We also have done many different podcasts over the year and rather webinars, and we hosted them now on Cottonworks YouTube page. Definitely check that out. So we consistently bring this information to the key audiences and put it on the internet, high quality, well cited, science-backed information that shows the natural benefits of cotton. And we continue our research. We continue to put that information available online on our different website properties, as I've shown you. We try to get that placed in such as a recent article in Forbes and other areas. And we are also continuing the research as well. We're actually collaborating with the Cotton Foundation and University of Memphis to better understand how microplastics and microfibers are being inhaled from the clothing we wear. That's a critical piece of information that there's a gap that we need to figure out, as well as further data describing cotton's biodegradability. One way which we're keeping alignment across the industry is we're summarizing literature, and we're going to be sending this out to our collaborators, just sort of a quick glance at the different literature every month that comes out to kind of keep everybody up to speed on what's occurring, some key takeaways from the studies. I know everybody's very busy, so this will be a neat way to get the information out and to have a nice platform to share others' research, because while we might publish a couple studies a year, there's maybe 1,000 studies a year being published on the topic. So we want to make sure we're all using the most up-to-date and impactful information. All right, so summarizing my part, plastic concerns are certainly reshaping global markets. Consumers are becoming more aware, and cotton, can be that natural solution. The biodegradability and the science behind it is really, really important to position cotton as a compliant, low-risk fiber. Without that science and information, the opposite could be concluded. So that science is really critical, but also connecting that science to the key audiences is just as critical. We also really need to continue to coordinate across the industry to really make sure that we take advantage of this opportunity right now in the moment in time and convert that into measurable demand for cotton. And I hope that you can see that we have been working on this for many years, almost 15 years now, and that we have a strong track record in researching and marketing this to a large audience, and we've invested millions in this. And this work will continue to be a very high priority as we look to the future in our current strategy and our ability to drive demand. So that's what I hoped I proved to you today amongst these slides. And I think that it'll be really interesting to have Marjory follow on now to really talk about their role in taking some of this science and taking it to different and new and expanded audiences. So thanks for your attention so far, and let's pass it over to Marjory. Thanks.
I thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very excited to be here to talk to you today about the Council's campaign that officially launched in September. You just heard a lot from Jesse about this whole issue. I hope you've heard and seen the Choose Plant Not Plastic Because What You Wear Matters campaign. It's simple, it's powerful, it was designed to be that way. It's directly addressing the growing awareness of the microplastics issue that he just very clearly described, and it draws attention to the risk of synthetic clothing and for the very first time, the health benefits of choosing cotton, because this is really about offering cotton as a solution to the synthetic issue. This growing concern is a unique opportunity for our industry to directly show that it isn't just what you eat or drink. Choices around clothing fibers have a direct impact on personal and family health. All of us on this Zoom know that synthetic fiber has real consequences, and cotton is a natural alternative. So, this campaign is intentionally bold, distinctive, and directly links the microplastics in clothing to public health in a way that cotton hasn't done before. When we were asked by the Maha Commission to come speak to them, we pointed this out, and as a result, it was mentioned in the Maha Commission report. So there is a national spotlight on public health and microplastics, and a unique opportunity for cotton now to step in as an alternative. This is not a typical campaign. As I mentioned, we don't have a lot of fluffy bowls or people running through cotton fields. We're actually tackling synthetics head on. We made a conscious decision and built our foundational campaign with one-pagers, fact sheets, science-backed infographics, short-form visuals, very bold animations, and a strong visual ID. This is our first animation I'm about to show you that we published on launch day on social. This best demonstrates what I mean. Here we go.
We're becoming more aware of microplastics in our world, from the ocean floor to mountain peaks, in our drinking water and the food we eat. Yet one of the sources of microplastic pollution is lurking under our noses. With each wash and wear, clothes made from synthetic fabrics shed invisible microplastics into the air we breathe. They don't break down, they break in. Microplastics have been detected in the lungs, bloodstream, and brain, places plastic shouldn't be. What you wear matters. Choose cotton, plant, not plastic.
So as you can see with this animation, we're moving people away from only thinking that microplastics are in food and drinks, making them aware, like Jesse said, they're also in our clothing. They end up in our body where nobody wants them. So by making a simple choice, choosing cotton, you can protect yourself and those you love. Just small choices. We've also created and began publishing a distinct social presence, trying to engage people directly. And I've put a little slide up here. You can scan those QR codes, look for us on all the social channels, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, TikTok, and then hopefully spread the word. So use these QR codes, take a screenshot of this. We'll also send this out after this is over. But if you haven't already, please follow and share our content because like Jesse very well said, it's going to take coordinated industry action geared toward offering cotton as a solution that will increase demand, we hope, overall. So in a few examples of social posts, I wanted you to see that our goal is building that education, awareness, and knowledge, while it's also expressing an urgency that is always backed by credible science. We have had scientists vet all of the research that we are using in this campaign. We've also started incorporating cultural moments and holidays into our post to attract a broader audience. You can see the middle post was a subtle nod to Halloween, just a little scary and meant to be. This is the Plant Not Plastic webpage. It's the central hub for all of our key messaging and resources. So it's plantnotplastic.org. It's clearly and simply telling a visual story and leads with the ticker at the top up here that tells you how many, this is really kind of sad, but how many microplastics you've already consumed today to quickly grab attention, create a sense of urgency, and it's all science-backed. In the corner, you'll see a fact sheet that I'll show you in a minute. And I'm going to show you that we did a video of this. You can see, let me push this. There's no sound, but this is going through the microplastics is dark and black and white. And as you scroll through all of these facts about the microplastics in our world and the endangers, you can see little factoids floating by with the microfibers. And then it slowly turns to light and bright when you get to cotton as a solution. Just a subtle reminder that cotton is the solution for microplastics. So here we go. And then I wanted to show you the fact sheet a little bit for those of you who want more detail. Okay, here we go. The fact sheet's running on the right side of your screen. But for those who wanted more detail, we created this science-backed, consumer-friendly fact sheet. It's not a technical paper, not designed to be, but it breaks down the issue of microplastics in clear, accessible language. It's been updated with additional research as the campaign has evolved. You can use one page of this. The whole thing is, if you haven't done it so far, go to the website and look at that because it's very eye-opening. Very helpful, and it's written in a way that consumers can understand, okay, here's the problem, and we also give them a solution. Here's what you can do about that problem. So ahead of and during this coming holiday season, we're working to show people how easy it is to make the better choice and choose cotton. So in the first campaign wave, you'll recall we focused on making people understand that clothing was a part of the plague of microplastics. Now we're going to zoom in further and focus on getting people to look at their tags. Many years ago in this industry, we had Check the Label campaign. Some of you are probably too young to remember that, but old timers like me remember checking the label was a big deal. This generation doesn't check the label. We want people to understand you should be checking the fiber composition of their textiles. Position this as a wellness, even protective routine or a resolution you can keep. Check the tag to protect yourself and those around you this holiday season. What is in the products that you're buying? So we created some visuals to demonstrate this, but it's a timely story and something everyone, quite frankly, needs to understand and then practice. Check the labels. So I wanted to share some of the assets we're utilizing to combat the synthetics, where we focus on human organs that microplastics have been found in. Again, all science-backed, focusing on the heart, the brain, the lungs. You can see here, as they're the most, they're actually the most critical to human life. And then on the next slide, you're going to see a preview of our next animation. As the first animation it was drawing attention toward clothing choices and showing how your choices can affect your major organs. In that instance, it was a brain. So look at this animation. We're drawing attention closer and closer, directly telling consumers to look at the tag. So I have to confess, when we were putting this together, it struck me, this is a hang tag. There's a little circle up there where we could put a string, but we kind of liked it after we looked at it, and I thought it looked a little bit like a tombstone. We use the heart as another vital organ that no one wants plastic in, and finished with the call to action to choose cotton. This is going to be released on November 24th, intentionally ahead of Black Friday. So let's take a look. Well, if I could work technology, it would be good.
With every step, every breath, every heartbeat, microplastics escape from our clothes into the air. Unseen, they flow through every vein of our lives. Not only do we breathe them in, so do the people close to us. Clothing labels aren't just a tag. They show us what we're really wearing, inhaling, and passing on. Check the label. Stay informed to protect yourself and those you love. Choose cotton. What you wear matters. Plant, not plastic.
So I hope you like that. This is only the start. We're currently building the foundation, actively working on a high-impact program through 2026 designed to amplify our message and reach a much wider audience. Of course, it's all going to be dependent on funding that we get. We're planning an incredibly powerful 60-second, we call it a hero spot, which would be backed with significant placement campaign that should drive real emotional connection, illustrating personal impacts of clothing choices. We also want to engage influencers, macro and micro, to drive authentic conversations and reach multiple audiences throughout the whole year. We will be on social and on streaming. We hope, again, all budget dependent, but we are confident this campaign offers a clear, bold, and adaptable path forward for the industry, focusing on a message that resonates deeply with everyone, and that is their health. I wanted to show you that in the U.S., we've identified the locations that our audience are concentrated in. We're going to layer targeting to highly engaged groups nationwide, including a paid ad component targeting DC. You'll notice in here that we've outlined the Cotton Belt because we are highly active in the Cotton Belt as well. We're all consumers. You are in the target audience of this campaign. We are using a very data-driven approach because we need to assure that every dollar is spent effectively. And I just hope that you will all, as I go to this next slide, I'm inviting you all to be a participant in this. please go to our central hub, share this content, the fact sheets. We have a lot of resources. Follow us on social, share on your own channels, share in your communities. I think if we all work as one, we will have that greater impact and that collective action that Jesse mentioned. So with that, I will stop sharing. There we go. And turn it back over to you, Stacy.